Welcome back. We're taking calls, and that number is 888-201-2244. And we've had got several callers who've been holding for a while. Let's go to Josh in Oregon. Go ahead, Josh. Hello, Josh.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing? Did you see the State of the Union address?
I did, yes. I saw the State of the Union. I thought it was really good. I thought President Trump did a good job at seeming a little more refined and focused. I know a lot of people like to criticize the fact that he has these off-the-cuff remarks and says things that are a little bit politically incorrect. I felt like it was a very presidential speech, I guess you could say. But for sure, it's interesting that the Democrats seem to sit. Did they have like super glue in their seat or something? It seemed like they were sitting for everything.
That's right. Yeah, they were literally stuck to their seat. Or they looked like they had just swallowed some poisoned candy. I can see why Van Jones would say that, because the expressions on Cory Booker's face and Nancy Pelosi's face looked like they just swallowed some poison or something very sour at the very least.
Oh, yeah, the look on Nancy Pelosi's face was pretty much classic. I mean, every time we would pan over to her, it looked like she was just, like, chewing on her tongue or, like, messing with her, dentures, looking all bug-eyed and crazy. But, yeah, for sure, I have a couple points. Like, it was really interesting to me that the Black Caucus would sit for the low unemployment rate for Black people in the United States. And I think it's because, and Millie Weaver said this yesterday, it was a good point, that it's probably because they think that Obama it actually should be the one that gets the credit for this, just like Obama should be the one who gets the credit for Trump destroying ISIS.
Yeah, well, the problem with that is that that's really not doesn't match up with reality. They want to give Obama credit for everything if they like Obama, but it has long been a policy, as I mentioned before, of the Democrats to not have the economy recover because they want people to be poor and dependent upon them. That's basically what socialists do. It's what Marxists do. And you're not in Portland, are you? I say that you're in Oregon. Are you in Portland?
No. I'm in Grants Pass, little town.
Oh, good. All right, you're in God's country there. Well, in Portland, I'm sure you're not one of the people who would support this in Oregon, but they're saying they want to rename Jefferson High School because Jefferson's got to go. And let me tell you something. This is not an unusual thing, as this is spread from all these different monuments. They went from Confederates to Union soldiers to Christopher Columbus to Washington to Jefferson. Jefferson is the guy that they really have to get rid of because Jefferson was the one who told us that government was about instituting liberty. And you can't have somebody like that as the icon for your high school. So what you have to do is you have to go back into the past and you have to reinvent him as a white supremacist. And that's really pretty easy to do when somebody's not around to defend themselves. They do that to us. If you oppose them, you're immediately just a racist. And I'm sure you've had people yell that at you instead of arguing over things that they disagree with you on policy.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's interesting that people will take this sort of anachronistic view of history and look all the way back, several hundred years and say that all these things are racist and stuff. When you can look at it, you don't have to go even 100 years ago to see the Democratic Party doing things like not voting for the Civil Rights Act and
they skip over that. They skip over they skip over the Democrat Party's history, and if you bring that up, you're absolutely crazy about that, and they skip over the Jim Crow laws and so forth. That part of it they're not going to talk about.
Yeah, it's just an insane leap in logic. But I had a point about the immigration plan. So Trump's putting out this plan, and he's saying that he wants to give full citizenship to 1.8 million Dreamers. I think that this is probably him bluffing, knowing that the Democrats aren't going to take any deal, and then it'll make him seem like he was going to be more soft on the Dreamers than even the Democrats were, and that they're putting...
Hang on, Josh. We got to take a quick break. I want you to finish your point, so if you can hold through the break, we'll come right back to you after the commercial. I'm David Knight, and we'll be right back with our callers. If you want to call in, the number is 888-201-2244. Welcome back. I'm David Knight, and we're taking phone calls, people who want to talk about the State of the Union address. If you want to call in and join the program, that number is 888-201-2244. We were just talking to Josh in Oregon at the top of the hour, a short segment that we have at the top of the hour. I wanted to give him a chance to finish his point. Of course, he is in Oregon, where in Portland, they want to rename Jefferson High School, anything other than Jefferson, because, you can go back and you can find something wrong in anybody's life. And they're saying that now they believe that he was a proponent of white supremacy, even though he said all men are created equal. and they're endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights and so forth and so on. No, we don't want to talk about that. And one of the people there, teacher, said, well, I well understand the importance of the ideas of Thomas Jefferson. The ideas have played an important part in not only this country, but have really inspired people around the world. However, by the same token, the reprehensible behavior of the man, again, I don't think is a proper symbol for a high school. So I imagine they would be okay with Vladimir Lenin or Karl Marx or some other perfect icon. Be more perfect to their philosophy. I guess that whole thing about men and a creator and equality, obviously he's a white privileged male when he's talking like that. So let's go back to Josh. Josh, you were just starting to talk about the immigration plan. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he laid out the immigration plan, and he was saying he'd be willing to give citizenship to 1.8 million, illegal immigrants, basically. And I do think that it's basically just a bluff, him throwing this deal on the table so the Democrats will reject it, and then he can say, look, I was going to do this for the Dreamers, and the Democrats care more about, keeping the border open than actually doing something for the Dreamers. I just don't like the fact that we're playing politics with our border security at all. We need to secure our border. It's not something that we should, we should have to compromise on, really, in any way. But,
I agree.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people in the conservative press because they don't want to say anything that is critical of President Trump. And look, I think President Trump can take the criticism. I think what he doesn't like is when people attack him personally and do ad hominem attacks. But if you want to talk about policy, I mean, he gets that's fair game. I think he takes that. But I want to say this, when we talk about it, whether it is 1.8 million or whether it was the 0.8 million that was out there, to say that he's throwing this out there because he knows that the Democrats are going to reject this or because it'll never pass because the Congress and the Senate are so divided. I said that at the very beginning, but I said this is a very dangerous game that he's playing. And the danger that I see in it is that when you put out the idea that the Dreamers have a legitimate right to become citizens, that they are a part of us and so forth, and you make that part of the framework, and it has been part of the framework going back to September when they started talking about this. President Trump, when he was running as a candidate, said that the people who are here illegally are going to have to go back home and get in line like everybody else. That's what we voted for. That's what has to happen. Because if you take especially the most hardline individual on immigration, and he reflected what the American people know needs to happen, if you take the most hardline individual, and if he goes soft on this and says, no, as part of the framework, we understand that they need to be here, and we're going to hold border security hostage to their pathway to citizenship, that's the wrong way to go. It sends a message to anyone, which we've been sending now for over 30 years with the, remember when we had under President Reagan, we had amnesty and then we were going to get border security? Well, we got the amnesty right away. We never got the border security. And so we've had people looking at this for the longest period of time, and they understand that the mentality here in America is that if the people get here, no matter how they get here, no matter how long they stay here illegally, regardless of whether they're on welfare, regardless of how much money they've gotten in free education, we don't have the backbone or the heart to send them home. And we don't respect our own laws. So why would they respect our laws? If we don't respect our borders and our laws, why would we expect foreign citizens to respect those laws? That's the problem that I have with it. And so even if this doesn't go through, I see this kind of talk going back and forth to be incredibly damaging because it is going to encourage illegal immigration. And believe me, they will get here because there's a lot to be had. If these people want to come in and they want to keep hearing all this stuff about America being a nation of immigrants, well, the immigrants who came here as colonists didn't have a welfare net. And that's been my problem with open borders all along. I don't like to see walls. I don't like to see ID cards. It's starting to look like a prison. And I don't want to see the war on the border go down the same path as the war on drugs. But by the same token, I said long before I'd ever heard of Cloward and Piven, you can't have a welfare state and open borders at the same time because it will destroy the nation. And of course, Cloward and Piven wrote a paper on that. And it's become the blueprint for the Democrat Party. What do you think, Josh?
Oh, absolutely. And, the Democrats will talk all day about racism when it comes to low-skilled immigration. But, they'll talk about white male privilege and all this garbage. But they'll never talk about Asian privilege, for example. They'll say, oh, President Trump was talking about people from Norway. Well, they won't mention the fact that he was also talking about bringing in people from South Korea. So it's just like this weird idea that we want to have a white nation or something like that. No, we just want merit-based immigration. We want immigration that makes sense, and we want to bring people into this country that are going to be productive and a benefit to society. I don't see how that's something anyone could disagree with.
Absolutely. And one of the things that hasn't gotten any press attention is the fact that the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Nielsen, has said that they are now going to lift those restrictions that they put on the 11 countries that were identified by President Obama as being high-risk countries. And so we're going to focus on the individuals. To which I have to say, you're going to have new security measures and you're going to focus on the individuals. And I'd say, exactly how are you going to do that? You have no idea who these people are. You don't even know if they're from that country. They could go to that country as an intermediate position. They don't know where these people are coming in from. They don't have any records for them. And unlike other countries, they don't require, and we're not requiring, that you have to show that you have means of support, both for yourself and for your family that you bring in. I think if they want to come in, they basically need to show that they can support themselves. And if we're talking about political refugees, in most cases, these are situations where we have started regime change wars. So let's stop that, and let's help them in their country. If you want to help people, you can stop the wars and you can help them in their country. You don't have to bring them here. They would prefer to be helped in their country as well. All right, I got a lot of people on the line, Josh. Thanks for calling. Great call.